Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. It is exactly 10 o'clock. We are now going to be joined by Cassiem Khan, Premier candidate for the Western Cape province, to talk to us about the PAC. Assalamu alaikum to you, welcome. And we do apologize profusely for the long wait. That was not planned on my part, so I do apologize. We were meant to have played that interview after chatting with you. So please accept our apologies and thank you for your patience.
Wa alaikum salam, Sister Julie, and my apologies accepted. No problem. Okay.
Thank you indeed. Okay, so the elections are just around the corner. You are probably burning the candle at both ends. So we need to understand, in the midst of all of this drama, high excitement, and a flurry of activity, we need to understand who you are and also tell us about the history of the Pan-Africanist Congress of Azania. We do know it's not a new organization, but not quite sure how well known it is as far as our listeners are concerned. Welcome, and over to you.
Shukran, Sister Julie. Really, indeed, a pleasure to be talking to you. The Pan-Africanist Congress of Azania was established in April 1959. The majority of its members came from the African National Congress's Youth League. And the reason they established the Pan-Africanist Congress was because they felt that the African National Congress did not stick to the 1949 program of action, which prioritized the rule of the African majority. The Pan-Africanist Congress believed that the oppressor and the oppressed cannot be viewed in the same footing in a future country, and that this would hamper very much our understanding of the injustice that was committed through colonization and apartheid, of course. The PAC, since 1960, was particularly known for having led the anti-pass law campaign, which resulted in the Sharpeville and Nanga massacre. But these massacres only exposed the apartheid regime's brutality at the time. The Pan-Africanist Congress was well established and recognized by the Organization of African Unity, by the Non-Aligned Movement and the United Nations. In exile, it has had branches and country representations all across the African continent. And then with the establishment in 1994 of the transfer of power, the PAC participated in that particular transition. And so here we are today, still every year, every elections, participating in elections as we are moving forward. So our main focus, and this is the part that I think many people would probably want to understand, is our main focus as a party has been to focus on what was the original crime that was committed. We talk about our history, our past. We always like to tell people, apartheid is gone and everything should be well right now. We believe that in many ways, apartheid is still very much with us. In particular, if we are looking at who owns the major wealth and resources of the country. After 30 years of being in so-called political power, we find that the wealth remains in the hands of our previous oppressors. The wealth remains in the hands of whites who continue to occupy the land, who have control over the mines, who have control over our food, they have control over our housing, every bit of access that there is for the true expression of our freedom continue to remain in the hands of whites. And I'm one of the people who say I don't like just making empty statements, and I want to refer your viewers and listeners particularly to the 2017 land audit that was conducted by the Department of Land Affairs, and you will see that 70%, no less than 70% of land, which is land for agriculture, land for housing, land in private hands, land for businesses, continue to be in the hands of white people. Now, what type of transition did we have that the people who had previously been privileged continue to hold onto those privileges, and the majority that was not just denied that was robbed of their ancestral land, that they continue to be left out of it. And so we believe that when we use the processes and the constitution that we have right now to be firm politically and in restoring the rights of our people, that we will see prosperity in the future of this country. If we don't go to the original crime, if we don't go to the source of where the wealth is held, then we will not be able to correct and have a better life for all in South Africa. This primarily is our
Your
main,
manifesto.
main drive of our manifesto.
Okay, so let me comment on what you've just said now, and then we can, have a further discussion. So the crime being that the country is still in the hands of the white man. But look what's happening. Our own black brothers are selling their souls to the devil. They've allowed themselves to be captured. Thus, the country is in the dire situation that it's in. What difference are you as the PAC going to be making in that regard? Most of the small political parties are being funded by the Zionists, are they not? And
Absolutely.
white capitalists.
Exactly. And this is the one thing that we need to be able to expose. We see the Oppenheimers as business people. We do not declare them for what they are. They are the people who had robbed this country of its wealth for over 150 years. They have not done us a favor, as particularly the ruling party want to tell us that these people have been the employers of our people. No, they have been the exploiters of our people. Um, we
Let
were
me come
severed
in here,
our country.
Kasim. Kasim, let
Yes,
me come in here. But our people allow themselves to be exploited. Our people allow themselves to be captured by having their palms crossed with silver. How do we move
exactly.
away? How do we move away from that mentality?
Exactly. But first and foremostly, we need to be able to identify and expose this. Unless we are able to expose it, we will not be able to explain to the masses of people what is actually happening. Right now, if you are driving an election campaign, you look at the millions of rands that is being spent just on elections, and you ask yourself, how is this even possible? Now, for this reason, we believe as a party, even if our efforts don't look that massive, we must be self-funded. But we must not let our palms be greased by millions of rands. That is not coming for free. There's going to be demands on that once you have take political office. And so the people who watch all these video clips on social media, they're the ones who will be able to tell you their eyes are now being exposed as to how our country has been sold and continue to be sold to our previous oppressors for the last 30 years.
What is your party view on the situation in Palestine?
And I firstly want to acknowledge and say that we owe a great debt to the Palestinian people in our present time. We have always owed them a great debt in leading the fight against settler colonialism, but we owe them a great debt, particularly right now, because what they have done is that they have exposed the world as being the agenda of white settler colonialists and their brutality at genocidal proportions. So the Palestinian people, our full support for freeing all of Palestine. We are the people who believe in from the river to the sea. We do not accept any view that says that we must share Palestine with the Israelis. We don't like that word. We don't like that name. We believe that all of Palestine should be free. That's our first thing. But we owe a great debt to the Palestinian people for their steadfastness, for their sumud in being able to expose the entire world that the skin of brown people, the land of brown people, must be taken by whites with all sorts of force. And the entire white world have shown us that they will stand behind white Netanyahu at any and every cost. But the other thing that it has exposed and shown us is that if a crime was committed 75 years ago, a crime was also committed, as in this country 300 years ago, as in the United States 400 years ago. And that crime can never be swept under the mat. So the Palestinian people have our complete admiration, and we take in many ways our leadership from them, because they have shown the hypocrisy with which in which we are living. So yes, we can go to the International Court of Justice and we can make fantastic statements and all of these things, but if we do not stand with the Palestinian people, particularly on what is the actual crime that is being committed, the crime is the crime of land theft. The settlers who are occupying and attacking and killing people on the West Bank every day are only interested in one thing, that they want to steal by any means necessary, or by the most violent means, the land of the Palestinian people. And we who come from that history, whether we come from, our ancestors come from India or Africa or South America, we all understand that they will use disproportionate amounts of brutality and violence to steal that land, because the land for them is not just where you're going to plant a few olive trees, which we love and respect, but they are interested in all of the wealth of that land. And this is why the PAC is correct in its position in foregrounding the issue of land as a current issue. It's not an old issue. It is a current issue, and the Palestinian people are leading us in showing us from the river to the sea, all the land in between. And remember, we're talking about the land. And so, yes, our full admiration and full support for it. And we want to call out all those political parties who do not want to accept that the Israeli state, the Zionist state, is a criminal enterprise. And you would be finding it not so difficult to draw lines between criminals who want to make themselves relevant in our political system by supporting the state of Israel. And I will particularly call out, and everybody refers to them as the Patriotic Alliance, for example, who are quite clear that they have, even in the congresses, in the meetings, gang leaders, and the police have confirmed this. Right? So there is no contradiction for us. We support the Palestinian people, and those who oppose the Palestinian people and who particularly support the state of Israel in South Africa in this election have the same modus operandi and the same type of thinking. And for too long, have we not been able to call out the real issue? And the real issue is land theft. The real issue is criminality. The real issue is the brutality that we are finding coming from the same types of quarters.
Okay, so what's the PAC's current representation in local and national legislatures?
Yeah, so our party has because we are a self-funded party and we have not had the amount of money to splash around, we have one representative in the national parliament, and we have about 23 representatives in local councils, particularly in the metros across the country. We are hoping that, given all the sort of difficulties that we had in the past internally, that we have overcome that, and that we most certainly are looking forward to a much better showing in this current elections, and of course local government elections going forward.
And your involvement with the PAC, Cassiem Khan, when did it start, and why are you so passionate about the PAC?
Yeah, so when you pick up some things when you are in your youth, and it really goes to your heart, it will never leave you. And so I started my relationship with the Pan-Africanist Congress, particularly former Robben Island prisoners of the Pan-Africanist Congress way back in 1985 already. So I would do political work with the internal structures, but more particularly, I was recruited to do work for the military wing of the Pan-Africanist Congress. And so of the types of things I would do, I used to look much thinner, more black hair, look like a small kid, and was able to cross the border very quickly. And so in many ways, I served as a courier between the internal leadership and the exile leadership in Zimbabwe. Much of my other activities, particularly, also included providing support and logistics to exiles, and particularly members of our military wing, returning back into the country. one of the greatest honors that I was given around 1990 was to be appointed the chief representative of the Pan-Africanist Congress to the Islamic Republic of Iran back then. Yes, I was still quite young then, but it was indeed a great honor to have continued to serve. And so my position now with the Pan-Africanist Congress is that if tomorrow I must just stand on the street corner and hand out the pamphlet, that would suffice for me. But clearly the organization felt that over the years and given my commitment that I deserve a position to at least make it to the provincial legislature and advance the cause of the Pan-Africanist Congress.
And what experience do you or would you bring to the legislature?
Yeah, and this is the part that motivates me the most, Sister Julie. I am a social worker by education and training. I've also got lots of experience in the field of adult education, but my biggest contribution is my 30 years of experience in the NGO sector. So I've worked in development finance, meaning for organizations that fund the NGO sector. I've crisscrossed the country in funding projects, whether they are in early childhood, in health, in education, in human rights, etc. And so that I did for quite a bit of time. So I understand the space where government or public funds needs to be distributed and how it needs to be accounted for. The other areas that I'm particularly au fait with is that I work in the HIV and AIDS sector. And whilst I was one of the founders of the Mustadafin Foundation. I also brought Islamic Relief, the advert that you hear so beautifully, to South Africa and established it in Johannesburg in 2003. And so through that body, particularly, we held the international consultation on HIV and AIDS. I then also went to work specifically in the HIV and AIDS sector, where I worked with community health centers in the Free State and in Mpumalanga. And so that gives me particularly the experience to work and understand the issues of health at the provincial level. I also work in the sector of crime and the rehabilitation of offenders. And most importantly, also my last big assignment was to work with the apartheid era victims family group, where we had engaged particularly the Walks. Members of the Walks still phone me to help them access families, so access to police, and particularly the NPA in reopening cases. So my experience, particularly vast: education, social work, social development, relief and development, health, HIV and AIDS. So I bring a vast range of experience. And what excites me is that I believe that in a provincial legislature where resources are discussed, the budgets are discussed, that I would be able to make a meaningful contribution. I have gone and seen parliamentarians, both in province and national, they just keep that seat warm and fall asleep there. I have no interest in doing any of that. I really believe that I want to represent our people, ask the tough questions, and make sure that our people get the best deal and not just have a cross made on a piece of paper and then forgotten about. So yes, Sister Julia Ali, I'm most definitely looking forward to the ability to represent our people. And more
Alhamdulillah.
importantly, I will continue to raise all these issues of poverty, which I am also doing my PhD on currently.
Subhanallah for that. Final question, short and sharp. How do you believe the Muslim vote is going to go in the upcoming elections? Are you hopeful that they're going to put their cross in the right box?
I hope most certainly that first and foremostly Muslims will go out and vote, because there is a lot of expectation that they will make the cross for parties that do not support the Zionist entity. But more than that, they must first go out and vote. I do believe that Muslims, like any other voter, also have a short memory. And so I do believe that we must keep up the momentum and encourage people, one, to vote, and two, to vote for a just party that will make sure justice is attained, not just in South Africa, but also in Palestine.
Inshallah. Lovely talking with you. Congratulations. Much luck going forward. And undoubtedly we're going to have many more conversations in the future. And du'as for you, du'as for your ongoing success, inshallah. Thank you indeed for your time. Thank you for your patience. Assalamu alaikum and Khudafiz.
Jazakallah khair. Wassalam.
And that's it from me on News and Views this morning. Thank you indeed for being with me. Hope you've enjoyed all the conversations. From my side till Monday morning, the same time, as always, Assalamu alaikum. Take care and enjoy the rest of the week right here on News and Views on Salam Media.